Sometimes, there are things on Brick Hill that stand out from the usual instances on site. These instances stand out because they are unusual or unknown to most, if not all of the community. It could be things as simple as a secret forum that could go unnoticed to the untrained user, to things as unusual as a t-shirt that completely destroys your operating system. Today, I will be discussing these instances with you guys on the first edition of Explaining the Brick Hill Iceberg. Without any further ado, let us begin this journey down the rabbit hole. Also, I should note that everything on this iceberg is true to some extent. Welcome to the Sky Zone. Everything on this layer should be common knowledge, so I won't be spending a lot of time discussing them with you. Let's begin. Off Topic is a subforum on Brick Hill that involves everything unrelated to the website. What makes this forum interesting is the fact that you can literally find anything on here. And I mean anything, including NSFW if you're on OT at the wrong time. So be careful when traversing this subforum, and make sure to report any unusual threads that you may see. The slot machine was a feature used in the early days of Brick Hill when the site would go down for maintenance. What's interesting about the slot machine is that there was a badge on the website that could be earned for rolling the quadruple AEO. It was called Jackpot. This badge is unobtainable now, but the chances of rolling the quadruple AEO back in the day of 2017 were approximately 0.007%, which is equivalent to about 7 in 1,000 odds. Alt hoarding refers to the act of creating numerous alternate accounts for the purpose of obtaining multiple copies of a special item, which is against the rules and can lead you a ban if caught. There's nothing really more to it than that, other than it's against the rules, and I advise you guys not to do it. Back in late 2016, you could purchase a beta key from Brick Luke for $2 to access the beta of Brick Hill, so that you were able to test bugs and report them back to Brick Luke before the website's official release on April 15th, 2017. This lasted until December of 2016, when an official sign-up list was made where you could input your email to get a free beta key as well as consistent updates about Brick Hill's progress. 36 users, including myself, ended up with the free beta key this way. Closed beta lasted until April 15th, 2017, when the site was released to the public. Nothing much happened in closed beta aside from heavy bug testing and website development. Welcome to the top of the iceberg. Things here are generally known by most users. However, some could prove to be cool facts that you might not have heard about before. So let's begin. Coin farming is the act of creating numerous alternate accounts to purchase your own clothing from your main account, and as the name suggests, generate currency that way. It's a bannable offense that can lead you up to a week-long ban if caught, so don't do it. It's not even that efficient anyway. Hours and hours of work can get you only up to $50 tops if you really try. Roblox was Brick Hill's original name before they settled on Brick Hill. Nothing more really to say about this one. Tetris was the username of Brick Luke on the famous website Block City, which is now known as Brick Planet. He began development on Brick Hill near after the initial release on Block City. Tetris was known for creating funny animated shorts as well as being a successful and wealthy trader on the Block City platform.
Hey folks, how's it going? It's Game Webcam. I'm going to be taking an interview that I had with Space Builder and decided to put it in a video. And don't worry, Space Builder did give me permission to put this interview on YouTube. If I should be able to like try and upload this sort of thing on like YouTube or something, so that way like this whole interview just doesn't go to waste, like.
Yeah, no, I mean, feel free. I mean, you know, I expect that sort of thing anyway.
Originally, though, this interview was conducted for a college project. I had to make an auditorial story of getting involved with communities and the issues that they have to go through. Considering that I am a reclusive person, I didn't have a whole lot of options when it came to the communities I can interact.
Supposing that there were 1,000 Wonka bars in the world, and during the contest you each opened a certain number of them, you would have a certain chance of winning. That number is a probability. Everyone understand? You would have a certain chance of winning. Bars in the world, and supposing that there were 1,000 Wonka bars in the world, and during the contest you each opened a certain number of them, you would have a certain chance of winning. That number is a probability. Everyone understand? Yes, Danny Tyburn?
What is the probability that 5 white kids found Wonka's golden tickets?
Excuse me, what?
The golden tickets. All 5 were found by white kids. So, what is the probability of that happening? Wonka's an international candy brand after all. Seems highly unlikely.
I can't figure that one out. But maybe if I research the demographics of 1970s sugar producers and weigh it against global distribution maps. Hold on, Danny. Give me 15 minutes. I can do this for you. The rest of you all just, play Fortnite on your cell phones.
Works every time.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that takes you down a world of pure imagination and then ruins all the fun by adding math homework. My beloved theorists, when I started doing YouTube nearly 10 years ago, I never dreamed that I'd be in the position I'm in today. One channel with over 10 million subscribers and still going strong. Film Theory here that's getting really darn close to that exact same milestone. You should help us get there, by the way, by subscribing. A channel that was YouTube's most popular live stream for a long time, and now Food Theory, our newest addition to the Theorist family, which, if you haven't checked out and subscribed, you should. I mean, you clicked on a video about the math of a fictional candy company. Why wouldn't you subscribe to a channel where we talk about the math of a real candy company? We're already knee-deep in testing a lot of interesting stuff on gummy bears, which is yielding some pretty fascinating results for an upcoming episode. So that one's coming down the pipeline, but then there are also episodes that are already on the channel, like how few licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop, or the episode that came out today where we come to the definitive answer on whether a hot dog is actually a sandwich. Spoiler spoiler alert, the classification of pizza and chicken wing is also up for debate. Link is right there on the top of the description or upper right-hand corner of the screen. Please go check out that channel if you haven't already. We've been working really hard over the last year to make this channel happen, so please validate our efforts by watching and subscribing. Thank you. But you see, that's the whole thing that's incredible here. I am beyond grateful to have people watching 4 channels worth of content at this point, but not just watching, engaging with all of those channels. And you see, that's the one I want to talk about right now, because if you're the kind of person who pitches theories to me online, you might not think that I see them, or you might think that I don't care. You might think that I'm just gonna sit here and make theories about Marvel movies, Rick and Morty, and Disney until the day my arthritic fingers fall off. And while that is true, it's also true that I see your ideas, and I love those ideas. Case in point, I recently got a tweet from @NeaNotJax saying, quote, "I want Film Theory to do a video on the probability that 5 white kids would get all the golden tickets. @MattPatGT, please, this has bothered me for years." I gotta say, NeaNotJax, I like your style. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is one of my favorite movies of all time. If you haven't seen it, shame on your parents. But as the quick refresher, it's a movie about an eccentric candy factory owner, Willy Wonka, who creates a contest to give away his factory and plants golden tickets in 5 random candy bars to select who can come into the factory for a behind-the-scenes tour. And, as Nia rightly calls out, all the kids that find these tickets are, well, they look very similar. But what are the odds of that sort of thing happening? My knee-jerk reaction here is that this has gotta be super low, right? Wonka is an international candy distributor, but there are so many complicating factors at play, from historical era to demography to international trade policies, that, well, the answer is actually far less clear-cut. And that means it is plenty ripe for our theory today. So strap into your psychedelic theory boat and watch your chins for any errant candy counters, because we're heading on one sweet ride. Have you ever noticed that, by the way? I've watched this movie so many times, I notice all the small details. The Candyman just clocks that girl with the counter. It is brutal. In order to answer the main question, I'm required to address another question that doesn't exactly have itself a straightforward answer. What defines a white person? Whew. Did you just feel that? It's the icy chill of the internet breathing down my neck, watching everything I say from this point forward in the event that I unintentionally say something offensive. But stand down, PC police, I get it. Racial identity is the kind of thing that gets pretty complicated at both the personal level, since a lot of people don't believe a single racial label identifies them correctly, but also at the global scale, given how often racial data has been used to discriminate. Race, ethnicity, and skin tone don't always match up across different cultures or even person to person, but my interpretation of @NeaNotJack's tweet leads me to believe that they're using the term white kids to refer to people of primarily European descent who generally have lighter skin tones. I'm largely taking that definition from a YouTuber named Masaman, who produces some really interesting videos about the history of ethnicity and demographics around the world, so if that's your thing, check out his channel, it's actually really strong. Long story short here, I recognize that not all people of European descent are white, and not all white people are of European descent, but in an effort to define our data sets and answer the question as well as possible, that's the line that we're gonna have to go with today. So getting a calculation for the probability that all 5 of Wonka's golden tickets would go to white people requires 2 data sets: the number of all white people on Earth and the total number of all people on Earth. Technically, that gives us the probability of 1 golden ticket going to a white person, whoever they are, and then we raise that probability to the 5th power, since the probabilities of different events are multiplied together to give total probability. And before the statistics nerds come after me, yes, I'm ignoring removal from this calculation. Technically, once the first white person has gotten himself a golden ticket, both the population of white people and the population of planet Earth decrease by 1. But since our numbers are already so massive, it's not gonna affect things all that much. So all that being said, this should be pretty straightforward, right? 2 numbers, boom, calculate the probability, multiply it 5 times. Well, that's where you'd be wrong. You see, the math is probably the easiest part. It's the first time in the history of ever that's been said. That all is just a bunch of simple multiplication. No, the problem is determining the world population and percentage of white people, because that requires us to know when the movie is taking place, and that's not entirely clear. It's debatable whether it's set at the time that the movie came out, around 1971, or sometime after that, based on Wonka's super advanced technology, or heck, even a time before that, because Charlie's Village seems, well, very rural. However, there is one very small detail that answers the question for us. After Charlie finds his golden ticket and starts to run home through a construction site, for a moment, just a moment, we can actually see a peace symbol drawn in chalk behind him. That symbol was invented as a protest sign for nuclear disarmament in 1958 and didn't become widely popular until the late 1960s. So it is safe to say that the movie is set in the present day, by which I mean the present at the time, which is now the past for us. It's around 1970, alright? According to statistics compiled by the United Nations, the world population in 1970 was about 3.632 billion people, less than half of what it is now 50 years later, by the way. The total white population is a little bit harder to calculate because a lot of countries didn't ask about ethnicity on their census at the time. Many countries still don't to this day. However, demographers have estimated the percentage of the world's population that's been white throughout history, giving us approximations of just over 30% of the world in 1950 and just over 20% in the year 2000. Assuming that general trend is correct, the world's population would have been 26.464%, or a little over 1 in 4 back in the 1970s. If we raise those odds to the 5th power, we get ourselves the odds of all 5 golden tickets going to white kids at a minuscule 0.13% chance. For a little perspective, the white kids sweeping the golden tickets is about 1 in 800, whereas your chances of catching a foul ball at a professional baseball game are about 1 in 1,000. Sure, those odds aren't great, but unlikely things do tend to happen a lot. A lot of fly balls and golden tickets out there in the heat. So, case closed? Episode over? Time to hop over to Food Theory and check out the new episode over there? Nope, we are just getting started. Because the calculation we just made makes a few key assumptions, the first of which is that everyone on the planet has access to Wonka bars, and that's just not very realistic. A better calculation would consider which markets Wonka products would have likely been excluded from in the 1970s, and to do that, we need to answer one important question. Where the heck is this movie supposed to take place? Charlie and his family and Willy Wonka all sound American.
You can move in immediately.
And me?
Absolutely.
What happens to the
The
rest
whole
of
family.
But then random townspeople and Charlie's teacher all have themselves British accents?
The test we take each Friday on what we learn during the week will now take place on Monday before we've learned it.
Plus, when we see the town from above, it looks like a quaint little village from the middle of Germany. Growing up, I always assumed that the movie took place somewhere in Europe, despite most of the main characters speaking with American accents. But the movie actually gives us the answer via the newscasts.
Well, we in America slept.
Right here in America.
So, strange as it might seem, this movie is set in the US. You could be stubborn and say that they're watching American news broadcasts from a foreign country, but we actually see an international broadcast from Paraguay when the South American news covers the fake fifth winter, and we can clearly see that the television refers to it as a satellite broadcast. So yes, it is a weird, heavily European-influenced version of the US, but we are apparently somewhere in the good old US of A. The movie makes Wonka products seem like one of the biggest food brands in the world, so the question now becomes, how widespread would the distribution be for a major US-based international food business back in the 1970s? Sorry, this is just one of those moments. Do you see how stupidly over-researched this all is? How deep we go about questions literally no one cares about? Oh sure, let's research the global distribution map of 1970s era US-based food stuff companies to determine why hashtag Wonka so white. I mean, these are, without exaggeration, some of my favorite episodes, but it's moments like these where the rabbit hole has gotten so deep and the research is just such an obscurely specific topic that I just really appreciate doing this channel. If you like these sorts of episodes too, please subscribe if you haven't already to Film Theory. I really want this channel to hit 10 million subscribers and would really appreciate your help getting there. This channel works really hard and it really deserves it, so please, if you could help, that would be amazing. We can't use the real-life Wonka candy brand in this case because that was only product integration launched in time for the movie, so it doesn't really have that much history to go back on. No, if we're looking for the most accurate business to compare 1970s Wonka to, it's the world's most famous source of excess sugar, Coca-Cola. Based in Atlanta, Georgia, Coca-Cola has been available in different parts of the world for over 100 years. And in 1970, Coke had the ability to stretch across the planet, just like you see with Wonka candy in the movie. So that's why I chose it as our Wonka stand-in as opposed to, say, another candy company like Hershey, which had themselves smaller international distribution back in the 70s. So, that being said, and this one's important for our calculation, there were a lot of places that you couldn't get Coke in the 1970s. The first major market, the Soviet Union, and for fairly obvious reasons. We had a war, it was a really cold war, we almost blew each other up with nukes several times, and then we didn't. Yay, history! Fanta, a Coca-Cola product, came to Russia in 1979, and Coke a few years after that, which is still too late for our calculations. Market number 2 that's excluded, China. Interestingly enough, Coca-Cola was first sold in China in 1927, but after Mao's Communist Revolution in 1949, Coca-Cola and a whole lot of other Western products were outlawed in the country, and Coke couldn't come back into China until 1979. And finally, market number 3, the Arab League nations. The Arab League, which consists of mainly Western Asian and North African countries like Egypt, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, weren't too pleased when Coca-Cola opened up to Israel in 1966, and they levied a boycott against the soda until 1979. So, for our calculations, we'll be deleting the 1970 populations of China, the USSR, and the Arab League nations from our world population totals, reducing it all by 1.1 billion people. It also reduces our total white population by about 228 million. At 733 million divided by 2.457 billion raised to the 5th power, we get ourselves the new grand total of Wonka So White at 0.24%. That is the chance of all 5 golden tickets going to white people once you eliminate all the places that Wonka candy bars probably wouldn't be. It's twice.
Alright, this might be absolutely crazy. We're gonna try Spike Factory only chimps. I have zero idea if this is possible. Now again, we normally start—
Watch this for a second and I will ask you a quick question. This walk, that disgusted look, just... If this happened right in front of you, would you react or would you just walk away? Because when it comes to me, I believe that the world really needs more people who actually take an action when they see something happening in front of them. What do you think? Kindly subscribe to Project Nightfall right now for more. How can a simple game with no story, no characters, and no good graphics end up being so addictive? Night Fam.
Right now, descending into an active volcano, where I'll be spending the next 2 days
to collect a bucket of lava to help save the country of Nicaragua.
Holy fuck!
Let me get down real quick and I'll explain how this all happened.
I'm pretty sketched out by heights, so this is nauseating at a lot of levels. Calm down. Chris!
And this all starts with Chris. He's what you call a volcanologist and a world-renowned volcano expert.
I've climbed into more volcanoes than pretty much anybody on Earth, and I'm single.
And 2 weeks ago, the president of Nicaragua asked him to collect some lava to help his government predict a volcanic eruption before it happens so they can save the lives of these people who live on this city right outside the volcano. Chris agreed, but he needed one more man brave enough, or dumb enough, willing to be his partner. And as the only guy who filled out the application, I got the job.
Dad, who's Mr. Beast? Oh, son, he's just the best YouTuber. Says here he went broke. Dad? He gave $1 million to strangers. Dad, are you okay? He made real-life Squid Game. Dad, what's the big deal?
Alright, today we're gonna try something crazy, a less than 1% BT6 challenge. I've never beaten one of these, I really want to. Oh my gosh, I haven't even tried it yet, so we're just gonna pop right in here. It's called I Hate Purple Balloons, which is kind of mean, but I understand sometimes. Oh my gosh, I haven't even tried it yet, so we're just gonna pop right in here. It's called I Hate Purple Balloons.